do comics, I do some entertainment stuff, and yes, I've worked in the music world before. That's all going to be pushed aside. This is an election that's very important, and that's why we have done three of these, and I'm excited for it. And there's just change in the air, and it's not just the change about the presidency. There is action going on, and a lot of people are just letting their voices be heard. And I'm going to clarify one point that I've been making on the earlier shows, that I say on social media, and I preface it by saying that I don't necessarily, need one party to win over another. That's not why I'm here. What my point that I want to show is that I think that we can find a common ground where I can say to a Republican, yes, you make some good points, but hear mine. And mine have to do with health and safety and racism and fairness. And there was a Fox News poll, and we're going to get to all of our special guests in just a moment. But we are going to, there was a Fox News poll, and this was on Fox News, and I'm going to try to put the images on the screen. And they were a Fox News poll talked about on Fox News. Now, folks, if you live in America, you know what Fox News is. That's the most right-wing a network can get. And for somebody that's in the center, I stay away from right wing. I stay away from left wing. I like to do middle wing. I like to sit in the aisle seat, right in the middle of the plane, okay? And there was this, and I have the images bigger, but I'm going to try to put them on in case I can't read them on the screen here, because Haps is going to go widescreen one day. That's what I want to vote for on my elections. Here you go, guns. You guys don't see it, so I'm going to pull it up. This is guns, right? This is the image for guns, and they did a Fox News poll. U.S. gun laws should be 55% more strict, 12% less strict, 33% kept, that is. 55% on a Fox News poll said, can we have stricter gun laws? No one's taking the guns away from rightful gun owners. But we have a middle ground. Stricter gun laws. Does that make me a left wing? If I want to have a gun, can I be a right wing? Why can't we just get along? And this is what was encouraging. It's not just about the presidency. It's get the hateful rhetoric out of our world. All right, let's do another one. This is healthcare. Now, this I don't feel as strongly about because this isn't something I'm very passionate about. But, it's considered socialist to want universal healthcare. And, you can't, you're not allowed. And here is the one. I hope I clicked on the right thing here. Changes to a government-run healthcare plan strongly favor 39%, somewhat favor 33%. That's 71% of people say they want a government-run healthcare plan on Fox News. I'm telling you, folks, this is encouraging, and that's to me the biggest point. That's what we're looking for. And these images, they're not showing, and this guy's very handsome, but we don't need to see him. We can go to somebody much better looking. Let's bring in Emily, and I don't want to butcher her last name, so I'm just going to let her say it. I think it's Hugler. I think. Oh, my God, I butchered this name. You're going to hate me forever. Emily is a student journalist in New York City, and she joins us here on this HAPS show. Emily, welcome. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, welcome. First of all, tell me the last name so I don't botch it anymore.
Hugler. You got it.
Hugler, yeah, that's right.
Nice work.
Talking about. All right. You were in New York City today. Tell me about your day. What did you do all day?
Honestly, I've mostly been in my apartment all day because of online classes and all of that. But I've been out and about over the last few days. There's actually a voting station right across from my university. And so I've seen the lines of people lining up to vote for, I think, the last 3 or 4 days. It's been crazy. It's very encouraging to see that many people on the streets.
It's wild, and it's encouraging because I want to see people let their voice be heard, and that's what it's all I've been saying. And I don't want to hear that if you're a Republican, you're not allowed to like better gun laws. Like that's what I'm encouraged by. I like all of this. The results are starting to come in, and there's no indication. I mean, the states that we know, Indiana, no offense, they went to Trump. That doesn't make a difference. I don't even know the other one. There's a lot of them are too close to call right now, so we don't know anything. What do you think, as far as not necessarily pick a winner, but do you think that we're going to have a regular, normal election night? Do you think we're going to have results by the end of the evening?
You know, it's really hard to say, but I don't think we're going to have at least full results by the end of the evening. We'll probably have a good idea of who's going to win, but in states like Pennsylvania, where actually I'm from, uh, they're taking ballots that were postmarked by 8 p.m. And it's going to take them at least until Friday to count all of them. So, and those are the states that it might come down to because this election is so up in the air. I think we really have no idea.
So you're from Pennsylvania, but you live in New York now. So you go to school in New
Yeah.
York. I didn't know
Hmm.
that. Okay, I guessed it. You know what? You had a Philadelphia phone number, and I was just like, oh, I don't want to be too presumptuous. You don't ask. I don't. You don't ask those questions. I can't ask. Um. So did you vote absentee in Pennsylvania?
Yes, I applied for a mail in ballot and sent it in about a week
That's
ago.
awesome. That and your vote could literally stem the tide. Like they literally don't know. And earlier in the
Hmm.
afternoon, I talked to a guy in Georgia, and he's in a similar situation. Like he doesn't know. And I live in New Jersey, and it doesn't matter what I say because the Democrat wins no matter what, and it doesn't have the same fervor. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
don't. I don't. It doesn't mean as much. How important was it to make sure that you got your ballot? And tell me about like your high school friends and everybody. Was everybody in your area, in your circle, in your bubble? We're in COVID times. Was everybody into it? Was everybody going
Yeah.
through the efforts like you?
Yeah. So, it's actually funny. My roommates are from Arizona and Florida, which are also both up in the air for this election. So we were all very on top of requesting our ballots and mailing them in as soon as we got them. And same goes with all of my friends from high school. One thing I think uh, that's actually good about this election is that it's really motivating people to use their voices. Like the amount of mail-in ballots and absentee ballots that have been turned in already is like almost half of the total votes counted last in the last election in 2016. And especially in my college circles, everybody I know has voted in one way or another, if it's in person or like by mail. I don't know a single person who hasn't gone to the polls personally, which is pretty great.
Lucia, she. First of all, she's wonderful, and she agrees with what you're saying. Specifically, or especially, I can read. Especially young people, and she also said, you're all of us right now." Because what I've been trying to say is, why can't we find a middle ground? Like, why can't there be a middle ground where we can respect what people want, what they genuinely want, and my argument, and I say this with all due respect because I know I'm talking to a woman here, I don't understand why someone who likes the Republican tax plan, like the Republican tax plan, if you're rich, is a pretty good tax plan. That's very good for you. Why does that mean you have to be against abortion? Why? Why? What's the difference? Why can't you be pro-choice and I like a good tax plan? Like, why can't you be the same thing? And that's what I don't understand about partisan politics, and I never will. And I don't expect young people to get it because when I was a young person, I didn't get that either.
Yeah, agreed. And especially like this last election, and the 2016 election has been so polarizing that it's kind of almost disheartening as a young person to like look at politics and like see just no cooperation between the parties. Like nothing really has been gotten done, and I think there's potential for people to come together. Like you were saying earlier, with the guns and the healthcare issues. Like, I think if people, I don't know, come to a common ground and see that everybody is in this together, there is potential for us to make progress.
One guy commented, and I thought he was talking about me. He said, "Orange man bad." I think he was talking about Trump, and I think it's because I have an orange curtain and because I'm a Syracuse person and it's on my Twitter bio. And I think that's literally why. I was like, "Dude, why are you picking a fight with me? I'm not fighting you." But he's talking about Trump, and I didn't know. This was the one. Abortion came up, and I'm trying to pull this screen up, but this was a Fox News. This is bonkers. This is Fox News. Supreme Court action on Roe versus Wade. 71% of voters on a Fox News poll said leave it as is. 29% said overturn it. 71% on a Fox News poll. That's encouraging. And that's the first piece of news that I have seen in the last 3 months that I actually looked at and said, wow, this I could work with. This is good. This I could watch. That segment, I would watch it and I wouldn't get struck by lightning, and it would be wonderful.
Yeah, it's really great to see media that covers that, because media has been so polarizing as well, especially like Trump's relationship with Fox News and CNN and all of the fake news, and everybody is on one side or the other.
So I hate it from journalism. Oh, I hate it because journalism before Trump, journalism was getting lambasted. Journalism's in a bad way. Print journalism is laying off people left and right. Radio is doing the same thing. iHeart had layoffs yesterday. I mean, it's bad for journalism, and good journalism is getting harder and harder to find. But it's out there, and it's important that it's out there, and there's important that we respect. And if there's a good story written by somebody, it shouldn't matter where their byline is. You shouldn't assume that because it's the New York Times, it has to be liberal, or because it's the New York Post, it has to be conservative. It's not that. It's not. I know it sounds like we're going on a tangent here, but that is absolutely wild. Jeff Ayers, of course, is one of those journalists, and he joins us now. He was at Trump Tower this afternoon and didn't get mugged, which was pretty impressive. So he's here, and he's alive and well. Jeff, say hello to Emily.
Emily, nice to meet you. I did meet a fake Donald Trump in a pretty nice mask today, though.
Yes, but it wasn't an N95.
It was not up to spec. It looks like since I walked away for a second, Joe Biden just jumped up in a lot of electoral votes too. It's going to be a long
since
night.
He started, I haven't seen. He's dominating in Florida. He's up. They haven't called it, but it's 66 to 33% in Florida right now. The one that's really, really close, and Jeff, the one that I was going to say, and Emily, I have one more question for you just in a second, but Jeff, the South Carolina is really close right now between Jamie Harrison, who I literally just found out who he was today, and I don't know what his platform is, and I don't care. I just want him to beat Lindsey Graham.
That's good enough for me.
Right? That's all I need. That's all it is. But supposedly that's really, really close.
Yeah, I think we have a long night ahead of us, but it's nice to see some things coming in. I mean, there's going to be some states, I guess, that report the early balloting pretty quickly, but then there's going to be a lot of counting left. I'm wondering at what hour the commander-in-chief starts declaring the victory. That's my question.
And what happens to the 400 people that are in the White House? He invited 400 people to the White House. That's classic to me.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of masks there, and I would have preferred the Rose Garden if I had to pick one.
But it's cold. Emily, one more question for you. What do you think the biggest issue for young people, and I'll give you choices, it doesn't have to be multiple choice. Do you sense that it's A, racial tension, or B, COVID? What do you think the biggest issue for your demographic, not your generation, because I'm not an old man sitting on a front lawn here. What's your demographic? Racism or COVID? What's the biggest thing?
I mean, I don't know if I can speak for my whole demographic, but I think, honestly, probably racial tension, because COVID is definitely a huge problem, and it's something that, everyone at colleges is definitely trying to be careful with, and everyone is, at least at Fordham, is wearing masks and social distancing to the best of their ability. But COVID is, I think, less permanent than racial tension, even though it has a huge impact right now. It's hopefully going to be resolved in the next year or two, and obviously it's had like terrible consequences right now. But I think like our demographic looking forward sees racial tension as a problem that could potentially persist for a very long time, especially in the atmosphere of our country right now. So I think if I had to choose, obviously they're both important,
No, it's a great answer. And then you mentioned Fordham, and I didn't realize you went to Fordham. So now I have to teach you for 1 second. Do you know or work for the radio station WFUV?
I know of WFUV. I don't work for it though.
Okay. Bob Aarons is the guy who runs the sports department at WFUV, and he's a Syracuse grad and stole our blueprint for our radio station and copycatted over at WFUV. So all you people at Fordham that are watching your classmate here, Emily, do this great show, all I want to say is WFUV, all you are is a Syracuse knockoff. That's all you are.
I'm so glad I
Newhouse alum here.
You're a Newhouse alum too, Jeff?
No. I did look at Newhouse. No, I was at Cornell, which is also cold and pretty miserable for like 9 months out of the year.
Emily, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll talk again.
Thank you, Emily.
All right, that is Emily, and we did it. How about that? All good. No, I love that story. The guy from WFUV, he went to Syracuse, he copied everything he learned there and brought it to Fordham, and he's considered a pioneer. He literally copied everything it is. I think he's an absolute fraud.
He's a real
if he's watching, and he's probably watching. And my other favorite one is the Northwestern folks, because if you're west of the Mississippi, just to show you how partisan this country is, if you're west of the Mississippi, you think Northwestern is the best broadcasting school in the country. But if you're east of the Mississippi, you think it's Syracuse. And Syracuse played Northwestern in football about 4 years ago, and I went with a bunch of Northwestern people, and it was a rivalry to nobody. It's a rivalry just
Not
to
a
the
lot of
broadcasters.
there, huh?
we don't care. Jeff Tim Kirkchin from ESPN called it the blowhard bowl. He literally said it. It's just a bunch of blowhards that care about this game.
Alliteration goes a long way.
Exactly. Do you get the sense from the people that you've talked to at work? Do you get the sense that as much as we are fearing the worst, this is actually going to be pretty typical of an election night?
Yeah, I don't think that much can. I don't know if anxiety could get much worse, right? But yeah, I mean, the 2016 election night was miserable, right? And in this case, in some places, we have more numbers from the record amounts of early voting. I think what's going to make this better or worse is just the rhetoric that comes from the White House, because this is not inauguration day; it's election day. So the idea that we would have an answer at 9, 10, 11, or even midnight sometimes is just not realistic. But I think that we're going to start hearing a push from a certain man in the White House with what his opinion of the outcome is, right?
And you might have known this, but again, I cover sports for a living. I found out that he applied for re-election. Did you tell me this?
The day
he applied. What? Say that again.
Right, the day after the.
Supposedly the day.
He did
it the day he applied for re-election.
Stepped down from the podium.
He left the podium and filled out the form.
Did the big thing.
and that he was obsessed with this, that this is all he was doing, and this motivated more than governing. This was all he was pushing for, and it's funny because what he'll go down in history as believing that if it wasn't for COVID, he'd have this. That he had the perfect strategy.
Be perceived as a winner, and really the easy way would have been to win in more areas and actually protect the country against a pandemic and things like that. But instead, he's going to these rallies, spreading it in some cases. What is it? 700 people now have been, deaths have been tied to his rallies.
His rallies.
And it's just telling people that he's been winning rather than actually doing something. So, yeah, I think the thing with tonight and the outcome of this is that he is never going to want to admit that he lost. So he will lean into the rigged or the filthy swamp, whatever it is, tricks. But yeah. I don't know what a concession speech looks like from someone like Donald Trump.
He just comes off as somebody who he did everything calculated. Like nothing was by chance. Nothing was random, and the people that he invited.
There's a few moments between March and now that were random, perhaps.
Well, but like the stuff when Charlottesville. This was a couple years ago. Charlottesville, when he said it's good people on both sides. That's inexcusable. That wasn't random. Yeah. That was not an accident. He knew what he was
random. Doing. It is still his. You're getting him unfiltered. When it is random, you see who he is and what he really thinks. And then they, what is the party line? It's like, oh, it was a joke. You guys don't get it when he's joking. Like,
what?
It's pretty clear what's happening or not. You watch an Obama speech or something, and when he's joking, and you don't really have comparable quotes to line up next to each other, but. Yeah, I just don't think. I think when what is the quote? When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And moments like Charlottesville, and a lot of moments at rallies, that's who Donald Trump is.
Right. And did you see this weekend the HBO show The Shop with LeBron James?
Yeah,
you saw that, right? With Barack Obama, that was great. That was fantastic.
It's refreshing. It's somebody who is thoughtful and considerate of other people.
It just didn't feel like a campaign. Like he was there to push for the election, and I understood why he booked, how they booked him, but still, it was an enjoyable chat. And I find LeBron James fascinating. I'm fascinated by what he says and what he does, and even when he says stuff I don't understand. Like I thought he made a mistake with China, when he was talking about China and Daryl Morey. And he kind of backpedaled, and I thought that was weird. And but he comes off as such a human being. And when Laura Ingraham came off and told him to shut up and dribble, and he made that mini series that was on, I saw it on Amazon Prime. I don't know what network it was on, but it's 3 hours. It was 3 hours of the history of the NBA and social activism. And oh my God, it was so good. And it made some of that stuff's before my time. The Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar stuff, that was all before my time. And I adored it. I was glued to it. And I was like, LeBron James was behind this? This is great.
Some people can do more than dribble. I mean, I think you're going to find him to be an entertainment production powerhouse in the next 10 years.
Well, and I have an interview quest for LeBron James. This is going to sound like such a stupid story, but LeBron James, when he was with the Cavaliers, he went on Twitter after the Cavaliers won a game, some game in the NBA Finals against Golden State, and he went on Twitter and he said, "Celebrating tonight's big victory with a Teen Titans Go marathon." And the people who wrote that show follow him on Twitter, and they replied and they were like, "You watch our show? That's awesome." And he's like, "Yeah, I do." And they're like, "If we wrote you into it, would you do a guest spot?" And he said, "Sure, set it up." And he did. And I have a 12-year-old and an almost 9-year-old. And 5 years ago, they were much younger. You can do the math. Yeah. And they were 7 and 4. And they they were there and they would watch Teen Titans Go, and they saw this LeBron James cartoon, and they made a thing where LeBron James, whenever he walks, he has to dribble because that would be traveling. And he says the word dribble, and he goes dribble, 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 dribble. That's how he talks on the show. And my kid's now 12, and she hasn't seen one game LeBron James played. If I say to her, "What do you think of LeBron James?" she will literally just go dribble, 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 dribble. Like, so what? My request the next time when this pandemic is over, I'm going to request an interview with LeBron James, and I don't want to talk to him about basketball or politics. I literally just want to ask him about Teen Titans Go, and I think it would be a great podcast.
You could easily fill 60 to 70 minutes of that, I think.
Don't you think?
Florida is tied now. 81% counted too. Thank you, Pablo.
Wow. Oh, they're giving. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's great.
Look at that. He's in there.
We have a staff here. This is great.
Trump pulled ahead with looks like 22 electoral college votes. Biden with 16.
Okay, but it's far. We're at least 2 hours. This is why 7:30 was the right time. We're at least 2 hours from getting the glutton of results.
Yeah, and I mean, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, until we know where they're going.
What's your thought on the Senate race? I mean, we joked about Lindsey Graham, but what about do you think that they get the 4 senators, or they just get 3 if they get the White House?
It at least seems like it's within reach right now. But yeah, what do you think? It's tough, right? I mean, 757. What were we saying at 757 4 years ago? That's my question.
I know. Well, 757. It was 4 years ago. We were counting on Hillary.
Yeah.
We were counting on Hillary, and don't forget, we had just come from 8 years of Obama, and we just it was a foregone conclusion. I've been thinking back. You're a little younger than me. How many election? What was your first election?
I mean,
presidential.
When did I even remember? Yeah, I mean, Clinton was in my childhood.
So I voted for I'm 46. I voted for the first President Bush.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't vote for Clinton. That would have been sketchy.
92. Wait a second. 92. That's Bush's. The first Bush is 92.
Okay, I was 2. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're 92, I graduated high school. So I'm a little older than you. And I graduated from high school, and I was eligible to vote, and I voted for Bush over Dukakis.
All right. And you still have your sticker?
No. No. I don't have anything from then. I have my ID. Say again?
What are your feelings on Texas?
I think Texas goes Republican.
Yeah,
they're going to get close. It's not that it's Texas.
Pennsylvania. What do you think?
That's a flip 'em. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to see blue. And I wish I still lived in PA, so I felt like my vote mattered a little bit more.
Emily did. Emily, she is in New York going to Fordham, but she's from Pennsylvania, and she voted absentee.
There we go.
And we were talking about that, remember, this afternoon. We said her vote counts.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I saw something interesting that actually, in, what was it? It was 1960, 68, 76, 2000, 2004, 2016. You never knew for certain the presidential winner before midnight.
I don't know. Republican Byron Donald won the House race in Florida already. And they just gave Kentucky to Trump. Georgia is too early, but Trump's leading. North Carolina has 62%, but it's too close. It looks like Biden will win Ohio. That's not projected, but it's looking like that.
60% right now, something like that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, 28% reported right now.
Yep. Wow. I voted for Gore Lieberman. Gore Lieberman, and there's a documentary on HBO Max, 537 votes, that looks like
I just watched it.
You did? Is it as good as it looks?
It's good. It's good. And then I watched the dramatization of the Florida recount that was on HBO.
I saw that.
8 years ago or something. Yeah. I was on a kick. Felt a little masochistic leading into today, though. I still remember my grandmother had a John Kerry sticker on her Honda Civic that she couldn't. I don't know if she ever tried, but I don't think that thing ever came off. I think she just went with the car. That lasted a while.
Mark says he worked for Gore Lieberman and Kerry Edwards. And Pablo says no way he wins Ohio.
Who's he? Who's he, Pablo? Speak to us.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pablo's our teammates.
Pablo says the first time I voted was Obama's second term. Dude, these people are young. I'm like the oldest person on HAPS.
You're averaging out the user.
Yeah, right. On the balance.
Sick of these millennial streaming companies.
That's funny. All right, man. Give us No, it's good to talk to you. How can people find you online?
At Jeff Ayers, pretty much anywhere you are. Instagram, Twitter, Jeff Ayers on LinkedIn, Jeff Ayers on Hapt.
What do you like? What do you like? HAPS is not eligible. What are you a bigger fan of, Instagram or Twitter?
A lot more on Instagram. I mean, I do videos and photo stuff there. The thing with Twitter is I think it's a dumpster fire, and I think they have to start getting it under control. And so there's useful stuff on Twitter. I like following journalists on Twitter. Same reason I like HAPS. But, they need to do something about the bots and the spam and the misinformation. And they're just now starting to flag stuff, which is good to see. But with the stuff that Facebook and Twitter is doing right now, a week before the election, it feels like too little too late after 2016.
I see Twitter a little differently. I've had such positive experiences on Twitter, and I know it can be assessed.
I've certainly met other creatives and journalists on Twitter, and that's been cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I worked with Prince for a year because of Twitter. I worked with, when my best friend in 2015 was killed. He played Major League Baseball, Darryl Hamilton, and when he died, Twitter was the greatest thing in the world. It was like therapy to me. It was so nice. And then I was there, and I'll just wrap with this story. In 2011, I had just joined Twitter. I was at Philadelphia. I was at Citizens Bank Park.
Yeah.
I was working with the Phillies. They were playing the Mets on a Sunday night baseball game, and it was the night that the United States captured Osama bin Laden. And David Montgomery, the president of the Phillies, ran down to the press box, and we all had this meeting. All the media, the radio, the TV, everybody, and we all said that we were not going to say anything on radio or television until it was confirmed that we were going to be responsible with this. Like, do not put it on the scoreboard, and don't show news footage, and don't talk about it on the broadcast. And
did you tweet it? Is that where this is going?
No, but in the fourth inning, I'll never forget this as long as I live. In the fourth inning, now this is when the Phillies sold out every game, and they had 48,000 people chanting USA, USA, USA. And I looked at the guys who were next to me in the press, and I said, "This is Twitter's greatest night." I said, because that's the only way these people know, and all these people are knowing from that. And I always thought, Pablo says, early lead for Biden in Texas.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think that it revolutionized information and news sharing for sure, absolutely. But the platforms have also been riddled with misinformation, and the Hillary Clinton just fell over and is using a body double and stuff. Like, I watched that spread like wildfire among smart people. Stuff like Pizzagate and all those things that you would think are stuck on 4chan or something like that.
Well, my Twitter got hacked about a month and a half ago, and somebody got a hold of my Twitter account, and they tweeted some nasty thing about these two women from the One America Network,
Mm-hmm.
and I had nothing to do with it. And I was going to write this whole apology, and my employers told me not to. And I obviously changed the password and got security and all that other stuff. But it was funny how this one girl from the One America Network posted it, did like a screen grab of my tweet and said, "This is what the radical left thinks." I was like, "What?"
Oh.
I was like,
Well, while you're on your HBO documentary binge, watch The Perfect Weapon, Alex Gibney's new thing on the cyber hacking.
oh yes, I saved it. Yes, is that amazing?
It is. Yeah, I don't know
heard
how he's
that's great.
cranking out so much. He also put out a COVID documentary on Hulu just now too. The guys.
I saw that too. Yep, I know. There's so much there. Anybody who says there's no TV to watch with no sports going on during the week, there's so much to watch. You don't have to watch The Voice. You can watch really good things. There's so much to watch. Have you seen Class Action Park, since you're a Philly guy?
I have not.
Class Action Park is a documentary about the 1980s and this awful amusement park in New Jersey called Action Park. And they used to call it Traction Park. And people like got limbs taken off, and it's a fantastic documentary. It's called Class Action Park. Say again?
It sounds like a horror film. Is that on HBO
it's
too?
Great. It's on HBO Max, and
right.
and that's good. There's so many good ones. So many good ones.
I'll switch between that and the election results.
Lucia, you saw Class Action Park? Oh, that's so good. It was so good. I did a podcast with this guy, and I found out he was from New Jersey, and he's like, Class Action Park? Like that's all the New Jersey people are doing. It's a horror film. And every time they showed kids getting their arms broken and their teeth falling out, they animated it because that made it okay.
Oh, God.
It was crazy. All right. That's Jeff Ayers. I'm Seth Everett. We've been on Haps all day. Enjoy the election tonight. Let's hope for normalcy. Let's hope for peace and safety and no rioting and no messing. And I'll be on in the next couple days, and so will Jeff, and we'll go do something. But dude, it's great to meet you, and it's great to hang with you for a little bit. And we gotta do some more projects together.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Stay sane.
Stay sane. It's gonna be one of those nights. We'll see you next time.